All right, Assalamu alaikum. My name is yours sincerely, Ayatollah. I hope I don't need to go through another introduction of myself. And today will be the next episode of my teaching Islamic history. So far I've covered Islamic history and the Seerah in context in general, and that is after giving an introduction and overview about the different frameworks of Islamic history, what is Islamic history, and why Islamic history also. So today I will be focusing on just sharing uh, the first framework of discussing Islamic history. Actually, I'm discussing it from a century perspective, starting from the era of the Prophet. And so what I covered so far, so good, is, of course, a review of how to approach the essence of Islamic history, starting about the story of the Ummah, being given the mandate as a chosen nation to enjoy what is good and forbid what is wrong. Of course, the story of the creation also, Adam as the beginning of our existence, and being put on this world as a Khalifa, one way or the other, or as promised to the angels in general. And so the story continues up till to date and until the day of judgment. And then also the Seerah in context. The Seerah is very important because when the Prophet ﷺ was passing, and or before he passed, he spoke to the companions and asked them, when the world gets difficult and they can't think of anything, they should remember his death, basically. And that remembrance basically is a symbolism to the effort that the Prophet went through, you understand, and how painful he had to leave this world in a very, very painful moment and painful situation. So the Seerah is an important context for how we view the situations of our affairs in the world today and how we go about doing things in general. So pretty much we discussed the verses that are central towards us being an ummah in general, and of course we identified some essential points in general. Before going in there, some of the important ways of understanding Islamic history and its impact in the Islamic fields of studies is through seeing how it's being utilized in other fields also. You think about when you're trying to do tafsir, you need a good idea of context and the canonization, abrogation of the verses. Of course, when it comes to hadith studies, that is the most important pillar in which history is generally needed or required. When it comes to fields of legal theory and jurisprudence, context is important. Understanding the chronology of revelation to an extent is important, or context of revelation, as I said earlier. Analysis and decision making and understanding how the Prophet wanted things to go by is also important. With theology, I don't see theology, contemporary theology, existing without history. Theology exists because of historical actions and historical facts that reminded us about the essence of certain portions of Revelation, how to understand certain parts of Revelation, and sticking to the methodology of the Prophet and the mandate of the Prophet. Arabic language evolves through history, or evolved as a result of historical facts that happened. And the preservation of Arabic language and the canonization of it, there's a good level of oral history to that also in that. So every single major tool of history in Islamic studies partially depends on history in general. And so when somebody says Seerah as the mother of all Islamic knowledge, it's bigging up the importance of Islamic history through the lens of the Seerah in impacting in every single field of study in general, one way or the other. So with that ado, I can mention some other facts. We did discuss the preservation of history, of Seerah, primarily during the Umar bin Abdulaziz was very, very important. And so that began the serious attention towards preserving the legacy of the Prophet and the events around him became very, very pertinent. And that was, I can't really quote the century right now, or sorry, the year, but definitely close to, over 50 years after the Prophet's passing in general. A little late, but still early enough within the first century. And so pretty much I don't force in any perspective of books to read. I do believe that there cannot be one perfect book of Seerah. the Seerah is being read from a lens and a perspective, and that will influence the writer or the approach that is being used to deliver the value that is needed or the value that the author intends to see from it. So he focuses on the same fact and just derives what they choose to focus on by and large. And it's a human the phenomenon, and that's why you have multiple Seerah books, even in non-Arabic languages. I mean, in English, definitely, I know that there are 100. Many may be similar, but you have a range of them. So I do believe in telling stories from a perspective. I think it's important to understand. In an hour class, it's just hard to simply just tell the Seerah in a perfect light of things. So how do you infuse the importance of the Seerah? I do believe trying to harness all the important facts of the Quran is the way to go about it. And so I deployed, for the sake of this class, I deployed using Juz Amma as a method of teaching the Seerah of the Prophet. Not necessarily I'm teaching it per se, but just showing how we as even basic lay people, once we have an understanding of the Seerah, it can enhance our understanding of the Quran one way or the other if we've heard it last. So you have different chapters coming in. So when you're trying to start with the story of Revelation, you start with Iqra. Then you go into not Juz Amma, Juz Tabarak, but Juz Amma is important also. But you add in Surah Al-Muzammil, Surah Al-Mudaththir, and you come back, you think about the fact that the Prophet spent 6 months off without revelation, and then what Duha, Surah Al-Shira is revealed, and then you continue with the fact that he invites his family, or one of them rejected him, and so you hear about Surah Al-Lahab, of course, at a point in time, that is when the injunction for Surah Al-Quraysh also is also sent for him to tell the people of Quraysh that the message is here for them. They should remember the favors of their Lord. And so you build upon with these surahs. The Makkan phase is sufficient enough to build enough with the surahs of Juz Amma and Juz Tabarak subsequently. When the persecution gets so bad, Qul Ya Ayyuhal Kafirun is revealed in general. And at that time, I believe his wife was lost. If you have a good understanding of the Quran, you can fit in paradigms of Surah Yusuf and Surah Yasin in there also, especially in those situations whereby he suffered serious losses, either from Ta'if or either the loss of his family, Khadija and Abu Talib. So Surah Yusuf comes in. Surah Yasin comes in at the end when he's just about to leave Makkah and he was about to be assassinated in general. And then Isra al-Mi'raj, of course, comes in at the point of Ta'if also. And so you have this, you're able to build a good schematic with the Quran if you're able to keep a good connection with the Quran itself, especially with the small chapters. Once you get to the end of the Makkan phase, everything else is just Medina phase. And the Medina phase is very, very elegantly described with Surah Al-Baqarah. Surah Al-Baqarah from the beginning to the end. From the beginning, it starts an introduction and lays the framework of what exactly you're supposed to focus on. There are people of belief, there are people of kufr, and there are people of nifaq, hypocrisy. So, and then at the end of the day, and then at the end of the ayah, Amana Rasulu, is a testimony that this is who we want to end up being at the end of the whole journey. The subsequent chapters just go deeper into the nuances of what Surah Baqarah has well captured from the beginning to the end. Al Imran laying down the facts of some of the events that happened and the psychology of different people in there. Surah An-Nisa follows, Surah Al-Ma'idah, and the other chapters follow subsequently. So pretty much you have a good buffet of surahs that you can build a Seerah template through, inshallah, if you're very, very conversant with the Quran. And that's why the Quran is very, very important. The other things I believe we covered, besides just the introduction, is we did cover the arrangement of the treaties. The arrangement of the treaties the arrangement of the battle, and the treaties from 2AH to 9AH Tabuk, of course. And then overall, how is the Prophet thinking? thinking like a big thinker, somebody thinking about the long-term projects, somebody thinking about influencing the globe, somebody leaving his legacy such that it was expanded beyond borders. Even when it receded during the time of Abu Bakr, it was expanded upon again. And so this is from some of the lessons of the Seerah. And the lesson of Seerah does not end with the Prophet himself. It actually ends with Abu Bakr succeeding him and keeping on that mandate for 2 years. This is the kind of theory that I have actually inspired in my own classes. So it's actually a continuation. And then Omar is the legendary innovator of the Prophet's legacy, basically. Allah Alam. I'll put a pause here. Let me know what you think about this and general comments, general feedbacks, and if you like what we are doing or what my reflections and things, feel free to subscribe, and looking forward to sharing more, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.